All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much once again for logging in and joining us. This is MLA Move Language Ahead Chit Chat Club, and we've got another great episode coming your way here. I'd like to bring in right now and welcome our very special guest joining us all the way from down in Cape Town, South Africa, and that is going to be our shark scientist and marine biologist, Justin Blake. Hey, Justin, how are you?
Hi, Carson. I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. We've just
Excellent.
gone through our whole catalog of all the shark music that we could come up with.
Excellent selection. Excellent selection. And hello to everybody joining in from all over the world, from Rome, from, there's so many places that people are joining in from. This is fantastic, Carson.
Yeah, we've got students in from Argentina. It looks like Russia is with us today, Mexico City. So really a great group of students joining us from all over the world. If I didn't mention your city or country, go ahead and put us in the chat as Justin gets started. But Justin, you're in Cape Town, South Africa. Tell us a little bit about what's the weather like there? Even what time is it? What time of day is it now?
Yeah, all right. It is 3 p.m. 3 p.m. in the afternoon, Thursday. It is cold and rainy. Winter has arrived here in the Southern Hemisphere. So days are getting shorter and things are getting a little bit more chilly and a little bit more stormy outside at the moment. But yeah, we're keeping warm, keeping inside, and things are good. Things are great.
Well, that's wonderful. And I know you have a lot to cover today, and I know our students are really excited. So before I turn it over to you and let you go, let me just explain to the friends that are out there watching us on our Zoom webinar. If you have any questions for Justin, there's a couple good ways for us to work with you today. So you can obviously type any questions you have into the Zoom webinar chat. We'll try to answer them as we go through the presentation today. If we don't have a chance to get it during the presentation, we'll also have a few minutes at the end of the presentation to go over any questions that you might have for Justin. We would also love and encourage you to use the raise hand button inside of Zoom. So just at the bottom on your attendee panel or the little hand button on your mobile phone, it's going to say raise hand. So if you ever have a question for Justin during today's presentation, go ahead and press that button. We will then give you the cue to unmute your microphone, and then you can speak directly to Justin and you can ask your questions live. All right? Well, wonderful. Well, Justin, thanks again for joining us today, and let me turn it over to you. You've got such a fascinating job. We can't really wait to hear all about what you do, and especially your conservation projects.
Awesome, Carson. Thank you so much. And again, welcome everybody. So yeah, just a quick kind of overview of the things we're just going to cover in the next 25 minutes or so. I am going to move quite quickly through this. So if anyone does have questions, bomb them through and I will stop and be able to answer those questions as we go. Carson, I'll just, if someone does raise a hand, you'll just let me know when someone does that. I do have the chat open, so I can read the chats. So just a quick overview of what we're going to talk about. We won't go through an icebreaker that we've already done. A quick introduction into myself, the work that I've been doing over the last 12 years, looking at the stars of the show, which are sharks and very big fish. That's been my focus for the last 12 years. How we uncover their secret lives while they're swimming around in this ocean where we can't see them. We can't breathe under there. It's a foreign world for most of us. And so how do we find out those secrets about those animals as they're swimming around under the surface of the water? So those will be the research methods. And then what can we use that information for? For me, conservation is my end goal. So how do we use these secrets that we uncover with the methods I'm going to share with you today to kind of help protect these oceans? And then the last little bit, myth busting and questions. But please, as we've already mentioned, anybody have any questions, please bomb them as we are going through this. All right, so just a quick introduction to myself. My name is Justin Blake, and that is my wife and my little 7-month-old shark enthusiast son, Archie. And as sort of mentioned, we have the Rockhopper Fund nonprofit here in South Africa and Mozambique, where we've been doing most of this research. I'm a shark scientist with a bit of a spin in that I love to engage with the public. I have a news briefing and a podcast that's all part of this engaging with the public. And for me, conservation is the end goal. I also have worked in underwater films. So some of the things that you guys might have watched, Netflix's Our Planet, Nat Geo Discovery, and most recently, we've been working with the BBC on Planet Earth 3, coming out in 2022. So most exciting. Over the last 12 years, I've been interested primarily in sharks and big fish. And where I've been drawn back to year after year is over there, sorry. Ponte Dora Partial Marine Reserve in Mozambique. Now, this place is on the border of South Africa and Mozambique and is in an incredibly vibrant ocean. It is a marine reserve that extends from within South Africa over the border and into Mozambique. The section we have been looking at is the Ponte Dora Marine Reserve on the Mozambican side. So what does it look like when you get there? Well, this is what it looks like. It is absolutely beautiful. What does it feel like when you're there? Well, if anybody's been to Florida or anywhere near that sort of area, it's hot, it's humid, there are mosquitoes around. The beauty of this place is that there are very few people around. There's one small little tourist town down at the bottom there, and all of that ocean you're looking at here and in my next picture is protected. So this is a marine reserve that has been in place for the last 12 years, and this is where we've been focused our work for the last 12 years. So onto the stars of the show. And the first animal, I have a video here that I hope comes through for everybody. But these animals are called giant trevally. And to give you an idea of what it feels like when you are swimming through this shoal that comes to our study site every single year, this is that video coming through there now. Now, all of these animals are adults. They are breeding adults that swim hundreds and thousands of miles from all over the coastline to come to this one place every single year on one day. These animals, over 2,000, which is the largest aggregation ever recorded, the largest number ever recorded in one place. These animals live in Hawaii, the Great Barrier Reef, and here in South Africa, on the border of Mozambique and South Africa, is the largest number ever recorded. These animals swim hundreds or thousands of miles every single year to this place on the same date. They are broadcast spawners, which means they breed, but they have to come together in one place. They breed by releasing sperm and eggs into the water column. They have to come to this one place every single year and pack tightly together, because if they're releasing sperm and eggs into the water column, it needs to happen in the same place and at the same time. I can tell you now when these animals are going to be swimming to our section of the world. Now, there's over 2,000 of them, over 30 tons of them, and they wait for signals from around them. Those signals are longer day length. Summer's arriving, right? The days get longer. As things start warming up, that water temperature starts increasing. Those are the kinds of signals that tell these animals from all over the coastline to get together, to start swimming hundreds or thousands of miles up to this single location here on the border. Now, the full moon is another signal for these animals. And that is the one thing that signals to all of them to come together in this tightly packed ball that you have just seen here. It is incredible to be diving in with these adult giant trevally that are bigger than me, some of them. Some of the biggest ones are 80 kilograms or about 160 pounds, around that sort of size. Now, you would imagine that there's quite a lot of 30 tons worth of fish here. That would be quite a big attractant to a toothy predator. And this is the first star of the show, a little video of a shark. This shark is called Soraya, and she's going to explain to us the types of tags that we use to uncover the secret lives of these sharks. You'll notice those stripes down the side of Soraya. That shows you that she is a tiger shark. And just one last video here of a little swim through of Soraya as she swims through the warm, clear Mozambican waters of our study site, the Ponte Dora Marine Reserve. Now, in order to tag and track Soraya, we first have to start by catching her. So we use a big circle hook that is specially designed to hook her in the corner of the mouth. With a cable, a rope, and a float system on the surface, we can pull her up next to the boat really quickly. And if you see over here, if I grab my little pointer out over here, this is Soraya. She is now secured up next to the boat, looking from below, looking up at the surface and up to the sun above the boat. That is Soraya upside down next to the boat. Change that angle, we're looking on top of her. That is Soraya, as you'll see there, upside down next to the boat. Now, some people may know that when a shark is turned upside down, it goes into a trance or a state called tonic immobility, where it is fast asleep. And that's pretty handy, right? We can get to pull up this shark. It's not very happy with us. We pull her up next to the boat and we can turn her upside down. And then we can do this work on her with her passed out. It's called tonic immobility. And all sharks, to our knowledge, possess this crazy ability to turn off when they are turned upside down. Now, onto the next image. Are you afraid of doing your job? Cecilia, no, we're not afraid of doing our job. Maybe when I started 12 years ago, it was a little bit scary, but as I've gotten more used to the water, as I've gotten more used to the personalities, if I may, of these different sharks and the way that they behave underwater, I've started to understand them more. And I've started to understand myself in the ocean better. And so maybe what I started off being a little afraid in the beginning has turned into just pure love for this place and these animals that are there. So not very much fear anymore these days, although every now and then when there is a shark or a big shark or a different species that's new to me, there is a little bit of fear. That is a healthy fear that gets the heart pounding and keeps one excited. So yes, and yes, they are friendly, Cecilia, they are. They are apex predators with big teeth, so they can do damage, but they do come in, they do have personalities. And one of the amazing things that I've discovered over the 12 years is that you are able to influence them through your body language. So you can influence them and keep them around or chase them away very, very easily just by the way you behave underwater. So getting back to Soraya, this satellite tagged tiger shark over here. If you look on a dorsal fin over there and in this next image, you will see quite an old, in this case, satellite tag attached onto her dorsal fin. And this is the first type of device that we use to understand the hidden lives of these animals. That is bolted on to her dorsal fin, and you can kind of think of it as a smartphone. It's got a whole bunch of sensors in it, a battery, and while Soraya is swimming around the ocean, it is recording everything that she does. How many steps did you walk today? How many steps did your watch tell you? Well, we can count how many steps Soraya walked in the ocean or swam in the ocean, her activity, her depth, her temperature that she swam in, that she preferred. And this helps us to uncover her secret life. How this satellite tag works is when Soraya comes to the surface, we can then follow her track. We have to wait for her to come to the surface in order to get a location from her. There's no signal down below the surface. But when she comes to the surface, as you'll see in this live website I'm sharing with you now, we can, one, get a point, one of those little yellow dots. This is Soraya's track, real time, right now. You can get one of those dots every time she comes to the surface. But added to that is that satellite tag has been keeping a diary. And every time she comes to the surface, we can get a location, but that tag will also send diary entries to us. So we can start piecing together her secret life as she swims around the water or in her watery home, and then pops to the surface every now and then to give us, one, a location, and two, all the secrets about her life that tag has been recording while she's been underwater. So this is a website called osearch.org that I have no affiliation with, other than we have some of our tagged animals on their website. And anybody, the exciting thing is that anybody can go and track these animals in near real time as they swim around. If you see right in the center of your screen there, the latest ping of Soraya is May 23rd. That was 4 days ago. She just popped to the surface and told us where she was. I log into this website almost every day to check where Soraya is as she's swimming around. So this is that's the kind of information that we can get from a satellite tagged shark as she swims around the world's oceans. This is another video of another type of shark that we have to use a slightly different satellite tag with. Francesco, so you're asking about big sea climate changes with these tags. The tags would give us movement, so changes in movement over time. And so some of the things that we are seeing, to answer your question, is that these animals prefer a water temperature. So humans, mammals can warm themselves up or cool themselves down based on wherever they are. If they're in Mozambique, Miami, or in the Himalayas, sharks can't do that. So they have to swim or live in the water that they're adapted for, be it cold water sharks, warm water sharks, or somewhere in between. If there are changes to those water temperatures through climate changes, which we're seeing here in Cape Town right now, the water's getting colder, then those sharks that have been living here will need to move slightly warmer. So they'll need to move out of Cape Town to find warmer water that is their preferred temperature. So yes, we will expect to start seeing this, that as the water around the globe warms up or cools down, that these animals will move to that warmer or colder water back into their preferred temperature. Excellent question. So that shark that I showed you there is a bull shark, and the reason why we came to this study site 12 years ago. These animals are normally found in estuaries in the Mississippi, the Amazon, the Zambezi River. So places where the visibility is maybe an inch in front of their noses. That's where they are adapted to hunt and survive. Here is one of the rare places in the world where we can find these animals in 100 plus feet of visibility. 100 plus feet around us, we can see these animals from far away. And the most we've ever seen was in January a few months ago, was 16 adult bull sharks directly below us in one view. So there's a lot of bull sharks that come to this area for that one species of fish that also comes to this area all at the same time. So the other type of satellite tag that we have to use with these species, these animals don't come to the surface very often. So we can't use that tag that I showed you on Soraya's dorsal fin because we have to wait for that shark to come to the surface. In the case of a bull shark, it doesn't come to the surface very often, so we have to get the tag to come to us. And so this is called a pop-up satellite tag. This tag works exactly the same way as a normal satellite tag that's bolted onto Soraya's dorsal fin, except that after about 6 months, this pops up to the surface, and then it can give us a location, so a start and an end location 6 months later. But at that point, it can then wash up onto a beach, as you can see in this image, and it can then start sending that information, that diary information that it's been keeping while the shark has been swimming underwater. Sends it up via satellites and down to our portal. Now, if we can go and pick up this tag, like find your iPhone, we get the location that it's washed up onto a beach, we can run down the beach and try and find it. And if we do, we get two things. One, all of the information that diary has been keeping. And two, 50% off the next tag. So if we replace the old tag, we send the old tag in, we can get 50% off of a new pop-up satellite tag. And at $4,500 a piece, that's a pretty good incentive to go and find these satellite tags that get washed up on the beach or get picked up by people and taken into their houses. There are some interesting conversations that we have with very rural fishermen there. Carson.
Yeah, Justin, we have an anonymous question on our Q&A, which is, has the quarantine affected your job at all? Are you able to still do the research and conservation efforts even during this unique time?
Yeah, awesome. Excellent question. Yes and no. In one way, it has enabled me to meet more people globally. So from getting a voice, from communicating to people, part of my job I love is communicating, educating, and getting a voice, building a community. Yes, I've been busier now that everybody's been in lockdown. So on the one side, we've been able to do a lot more work. A lot of researchers that do work from hour to hour or during sort of day to day, they would be affected much more than us. Our time frames are quite long. So the only time we need to be back up there doing any work is in November. So for us, as long as things open up by November and we can go back and do some of the maintenance work, we're still okay. But some of the people haven't been able to do any of their maintenance work out at sea, so they have been a little bit more affected. Other researchers have had the opportunity to be able to do research in areas that are now quiet for the first time ever. There's not many researchers out there who have been alive long enough for the oceans to be as quiet as they are right now. So there've been quite a few different different impacts depending on on your research focus. For us, we're still okay for now, and in fact getting a lot more out there, if that answers your question.
And we do have Maria who would like to ask a question here live if we have a second. So Maria, go ahead and unmute the microphone and you can speak directly to Justin. Hi Maria, how are you? Maria, go ahead and hit that microphone button and you can unmute. All right, we'll try to come back to Maria in a few minutes then. You can carry on.
Okay. All right, so just the last type of tag that we use to kind of fill this all out a little bit, it's called an acoustic tag, and very basically how it works. This is the cheapest tag we can use, $400 US a tag, but they last for 10 years as opposed to 2 years or 6 months like the satellite tags. And so this kind of answers that question about whether we've been too affected right now. Our tags are lasting for 10 years, and that is our time horizon. So this tag, as you see on the bottom right there, is surgically implanted into the shark's body cavity. We cut it open about 1/2 inch, pop that tag inside and stitch it back up again. And that tag makes a noise. For the next 10 years, it pings, ding, 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 as that shark swims around the ocean. Very basically how this works is that tag makes a noise and we listen for that noise. So here is a listening station that is moored onto the reef down below. In our study area, we have about 15 of them, north, south, east, west, and in the middle. And anytime as that shark swims through our study area, anytime it swims past the listening station, its tag goes ping, 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 and the listening station says, that tag was here, Soraya's tag. Soraya was here at 12 p.m. on the 1st of January. As Soraya swims away, she comes back again, and that listening station goes, I just heard Soraya again. It's now 12:15 on the 1st of January. And throughout the year, as Soraya swims up and down past any of these listening stations, she pings, ding, 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 and the listening station that she swims past would then record the time and the date that Soraya was there. Over a year, over 10 years, we start piecing together the puzzle of when the sharks are in a location up in the north of our study site, or when they are down in the south, or when they're not there at all. Maria, would you like to ask your question with your microphone? Maria?
Let's try again, Maria. See if you can hit the unmute button there and you can ask Justin here live.
How do you put the tag on the shark?
So the acoustic tag, this one over here, that is surgically implanted into the body cavity. So we cut them open, pop the tag inside, and then stitch it back up again. The previous tag over here is anchored just underneath the skin, and how it pops to the surface is that wire that you can see attaching just to under the skin actually dissolves. It's called a burn wire, and it dissolves away after 6 months. The
Justin,
first type of tag,
I'm sorry, when you put the tag on the shark, does it hurt the shark at all?
yeah, there would be some pain that's felt by the shark. They do have quite a complicated or complex nervous system. These places that we choose would be sort of about the same as maybe an ear piercing. That sort of cartilage, that fin, and the shark's entire skeleton is made out of cartilage like the tip of your ear or the tip of your nose. And so there would be some form of pain. At this stage, based on ethical committee clearance, this is considered an acceptable amount of pain, i.e. not enough to change the shark's behavior.
And Justin, we have a question from our friend Alex down in Argentina.
Hey, Justin, can you hear me?
Yes, hello, Alex.
Perfect. Hey, good afternoon. First off, I find this all really interesting. I had a quick question. When you had mentioned before the tonic immobility of the sharks, is that only caused by them turning upside down, or can you as well influence that by maybe touching their ampullae of Lorenzini? Or I was curious about that. And then one other quick question. I remember reading a few years back, I think it was, there was a 9-foot great white shark that was tagged, and all of a sudden when that tag resurfaced, the data had showed that the shark had gone extremely deep, and then the shark was no longer there. So they think it was eaten. I was wondering what you thought about that. Maybe a great white shark or maybe a giant squid.
Yeah, Alex, awesome. You seem to know a lot about sharks. This is awesome. So
Yeah.
yes, first question, if they're turned upside down, they go into tonic immobility. If you rub their noses, which is where their ampullae of Lorenzini are located, for everybody else who doesn't know, those are the electroreceptors on a shark. They can pick up the electrical impulse from your heartbeat through those ampullae of Lorenzini, those pores on their nose. And yes, if you rub the shark on its nose, it goes into that same catatonic state. So Alex, you're spot on there. The other thing about a great white shark, how sort of deep they would swim. Well, they swim really deep. They go a huge depth. Some of the sharks that we don't work on great whites ourselves, but some of the sharks that have been studied have been shown to swim over 1 kilometer deep. A lot of sharks disappear. We never see them again. One of our famous sharks here in Cape Town swam to Perth, Western Australia, from Cape Town, and then back to Cape Town within 11 months. So they do incredible migrations around the world's oceans and incredible migrations deep down into the depths. When they disappear, there are any number of reasons why they could disappear, including predation, getting eaten by something else. So yeah, really difficult to kind of pinpoint what that is. But yeah, being eaten by something else, being caught by us is also another reason. Or that tag just dies, right? That battery just dies and we never hear anything back from it. So I hope that answers your questions, Alex. Thank you so much. I see in the comments. Yeah. Anything else there, Carson?
Yeah, there's a few more, but I want to make sure we have enough time to get through the presentation. So is there a few more slides or should we answer some more questions?
I think we should just to make the point on this listening station is that gives us 10 years. And one of the most incredible things that this has given us is now 10 years later, we are now at a point where we kind of understand what's going on. And one of the most incredible findings is that these sharks are creatures of habit. So we thought it was just a Pac-Man swimming through the ocean, just munching on everything. Turns out these animals are going back to the same places over and over again through 10 years running this project for 12 years now, but through these tags that last for such a long amount of time. And so that would help us if we know where these animals go. And it turns out they go to the same places, summer and winter, over and over again, leaving on the same dates, some years, the same date over and over again. They pack up their summer home to go to their winter home. And so that helps us to understand where they go and what areas are important for them and for the oceans. So those are good starting points, critical habitats for marine reserves to be placed in. And that's really the conservation message, is using this information that we now have. 20 years ago when I started this, we didn't have this information. Now we have it. So the conversations we can have are much more informed. Smart homes, smartphones, smart oceans too. So yeah, I will stop my screen share and onto the big screen here for more questions.
Yeah, incredible. Let's go ahead and let's see if we can get Paulo here. Paulo has a question. Go ahead and unmute that microphone for us, Paulo. All right, let's move on to Alexander. We'll still wait for Paulo if you can get that microphone unmuted. But we'll go with Alexander next. Hi, Alexander. Make sure you guys are hitting the microphone button to unmute the microphone. All right, and we'll also try, looks like Vanessa has a question as well.
Hello,
There's
Justin.
Vanessa.
Hello, Vanessa.
I'm calling from Argentina. Very nice information, very interesting information. You say that they go to special places, definite places on the very same day. That was my question. Which is the reason why they move to one place to another place? Why do they do those migrations?
The main drivers, Vanessa, excellent question. The main drivers for these sharks are kind of threefold, divided into two categories. One is good food. So those giant trevally, those fish you saw swimming around, that is a really good food source. So they would move up to this area, our study sites in summer, because there's good food that is distracted by breeding. So those giant trevally are breeding, and so they're slightly easier to catch. That then allows the bull sharks to get into, or any sharks really, depending on the sort of area, get into good breeding condition. And then the second reason is to then go to those places to breed or to give birth. So sharks give birth to live young, these big ones that we're talking about. And so these animals would move to feed, get into good, strong body condition to breed, grow their young up inside, and then go to another spot to give birth. Those are the main drivers, breeding and feeding.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Vanessa. Great question. Okay, we're still, I don't think Alexander is able to undo the microphone there. And we've gone through all the questions that we have. Let's go over to the Q&A. There might be some here. How long do you put the tag on the shark for? So I think that's different for all the different tags you were explaining, but maybe you can recap that for us.
Yeah, Maria. The acoustic tag stays in the shark forever until that shark dies, but it only lasts about 9 years or 10 years if we're lucky. The satellite tags on the dorsal fin, that lasts about 2, maybe 3 years if we're lucky, and then the pop-up about 6 months.
The other question from Christian is, why do you do this job?
Why do I do this job? That's a really good question. I've always been infatuated with fish and the ocean. So for me, protecting that ocean, we're fishing all around the world, creating places that are protected where these animals can stay in those areas without getting caught and eaten by us is kind of my driver. I want to keep these places pristine so that you can go back to these places over and over again and see these animals alive. I'm just completely infatuated with this underwater world.
And the last question we have on here from Maria is, does the shark notice that there is a tag on the body? Do you think they know that there is something attached to them?
Yes. So the sharks do notice. And so the move has been always to have the least amount of impact while still collecting data. And so that's a kind of line that society as in a whole decides how much notice that shark can have and how much impact that would have. And where that line is drawn right now is, does it affect or change the shark's behavior? So if it was a really big, heavy thing and you put it onto that shark, does it behave differently after you've added that? And so the tags that we use don't change its behavior, if that answers your question.
Very nice. And our very last question that we have is coming from Francesco today, and that is, are any sharks, or I guess any big fish, is anything endangered at this moment?
Yes, most sharks are becoming more and more endangered, almost all of them, as we start fishing them more and more. So we are now targeting sharks to replace seafood. So a lot of the fish that you order at your fishmonger or your takeaway joint, that's not actually the fish that they labeled it as. It's actually more and more often shark substituted in there. So yeah, we are catching quite a lot of sharks and substituting for food. At least 30% globally is mislabeled of seafood label. Seafood is mislabeled globally.
Wow. Extremely interesting. Well, Justin, this has been an incredible conversation. I have learned so much. A couple words that I think really came to mind during that are really unique. I hope our students were listening. Conservation was one of the first words you talked about. So really the act of trying to save something or, acts that we can take that we're passionate about to try to change different things and to save something, to conserve something. And then trance, I thought that was another great word that you mentioned today when you were talking about turning the shark upside down, putting them into a trance or putting them to sleep. You said the word passed out, which I think is another great way to define that. But those are two really cool words that I took away from this with your work in conservation, but also your ability for those sharks to become very passive, being put into that trance. So really awesome conversation today, Justin. I want to thank you so much for talking to our students today and for telling them all about your very interesting job and the work you do. I wish you a lot of success. And once again, my thanks.
Thank you, Carson, and thank you everybody else. I look forward to hearing from you. There's a lot of questions still coming through, so we'll maybe arrange a follow-up at another point.
Very good, Justin. You have a great day now.
Awesome.
For all of my friends and attendees, I want to thank you for joining us here on MLA Chit Chat Club. And don't forget, we have some more free webinars coming your way. We're back in the kitchen tomorrow. MLA Kitchen comes your way every Friday. We're going to Malta. We've got a great recipe for an apple crumble that'll be cooking up tomorrow on MLA Kitchen. And then next week, we have a full slate of free webinars. Our teacher training webinar is on Wednesday. We're back here with our MLA Chit Chat Club. Luciano Spinelli, a very famous Italian social media influencer, will join us on the Chit Chat Club on Thursday, and then we'll be right back here again on Friday for the MLA Kitchen. So lots more coming up. It's mlaworld.com/webinar, mlaworld.com/webinar for all these free webinars during this really unique and unprecedented time for us. So thanks for joining us today on MLA Chit Chat Club. We hope you guys have a great weekend. Stay safe, and we'll see you real soon.